Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to round one of the season, or as the graphic says, pre-season. Hasn't updated, but we'll update that now. Yeah, round one of the season of this Prototypes and GT3 Championship. Season 5 is the season we're in at the moment. And this is what to expect from the season ahead. So it is the Next Gen Racing Multi-Class League, hosted on Thursdays, and it starts here today, round one of the championship. There are two categories in this championship, the LMDH, or as it's otherwise known as the GTP category. Depends whether you're a WEC fan or an IMSA fan, or generally a wide-range endurance fan. And the GT3 cars. Now, the LMDH cars are prototype cars, typically the top-tier endurance racing cars in the world, and GT3 racing, one of the most popular forms of racing in the world at the moment, in particular with esports and sim racing, very popular on iRacing, Assetto Corsa, Competizione, Race Room, and many other sims. The championship will feature realistic weather, so iRacing recently introduced wet weather racing, so it means that in these races it is whatever the forecasted weather is on iRacing for the location heading into these championships, heading into these events, heading into these days of racing. So it can be literally anything from day to day. It's very difficult to predict, and we're pretty much going to be taking it from a perspective. We don't really know what to expect. So it's going to be very exciting, and it's going to test the drivers' skills to the most in this season more than any other in the past, because the introduction of wet weather really is going to take it to the limit. There are varying formats of racing in this championship. We have sprint races, feature races, and endurance races. Tonight is going to feature the sprint and feature race format, so we'll have 25 minutes of qualifying coming up on the hour, 8 o'clock UK time that is, and it will follow immediately with a 20-minute sprint race. So the grid will set the grid for qualifying will set the grid for the sprint race, and they'll just go for highest position possible in that sprint race. And it'll be a full reverse grid for the feature race, a 1 hour race, and what I mean by full reverse grid, within the categories, it will be a full reverse grid. So the GT3s will be reversed for the grid based on the results of the sprint race, and the GTPs or LMDHs will be reversed within their category for that feature race. There are endurance races in this season, and we'll go through which ones they are very shortly. Excuse me. This is a fixed setup series, so each car has a setup they'll use round to round, and it means each driver in each car will use the same setup as one another. So there's no, I'll call it advantages, should we say, with people utilising setups or buying setups online and that sort of thing. Is everybody has the same car to drive effectively. I know there's varying brands, but when you're up against a rival who might be in the Mercedes GT3, for example, you have the same car as them. The only thing you change is traction control, ABS, and brake bias. Really not that much to change in these cars. It is purely down to car and machine, and that's going to be interesting in this championship because we have 10 different manufacturers in this 10 different cars in this championship that will feature throughout this whole season. So we'll start with the GTP LMDH category. We've got the Acura ARX 06, introduced to the IMSA Sports Car Championship in 2023, powered by the HPD powertrains, which is Honda effectively. We've got the BMW M Hybrid, which is the elder of the 4 GTP cars. It's been on iRacing for best part of a year to a year and a half. A very popular car indeed. We've got the Cadillac V Series, very, very lovely sounding car. Looking forward to hearing that and seeing that on these tracks. And the Porsche 968, which I believe is one of the later GTP cars to be introduced to this to iRacing. Onto the GT3s, the familiar Audi R8, LMS Evo 2. This rendition of the R8 was introduced very recently onto iRacing. We've got the BMW M4, which is my favourite GT3 car of all of them. We've got the Ferrari 296, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, which has just been placed into legacy status on iRacing, which effectively means it's a old car, in inverted commas. Just putting it as it is, really. That's how we see legacy cars, but it's still a very lovely sounding and looking car, and it is featuring in this field. Mercedes AMG 2020 GT3 car and the Porsche 911 GT3 992 edition. The calendar for the season, we have Mugello up first. So the Italian track at the centre of Italy, not too far west of San Marino, in the Tuscany region of Italy, hosts round 1 of the championship. And we'll move on to round 2 immediately next week for the Motorland Aragon circuit, just north of the Tarragona region in Spain. We head up to Britain for the home round of a lot of the drivers in this championship, and indeed the home round of the series itself. Silverstone GP will host the first of the endurances of the season. On the 6th of June, it will be the first 2-hour endurance of the season, where it's just a 2-hour endurance, 1 race on that day. And there will be 3 hosted throughout the season, as you can see on the graphic, and we'll go through them shortly. But round 4 of the season is the Indianapolis Road Course. And of course, the Indy 500 is hosted this week at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But we'll be taking up the road course, which I think is going to be a bit of a dark horse in this calendar. I think that's going to be a great round for these cars when we get there. A week off between rounds 4 and 5, and when we return for round 5, it will be Road Atlanta, a very narrow but very popular track for sports car racing. On the 4th of July, seems very apt, but we'll be in America still in Florida for the Sebring circuit, a 2-hour endurance, the 2nd of 3 in the series. Another new addition to iRacing very recently is the Algarve International Circuit, otherwise known as Portimao. On the 11th of July, will host round 7 of the championship. Spa-Francorchamps will host round 8 of the championship on the 18th of July, followed by Imola. The penultimate round of the season will be the final round of the sprint and feature race format. And the last round of the season on the 1st of August will be the Le Mans circuit. Where else should it end? It's got to be Le Mans, hasn't it? And that'll be a 2-hour endurance, of course. Brilliant track to end the season. And a brilliant season ahead of us, and we join the live action as we are about to head into qualifying. We're just at the tail end of practice right now, and drivers lining up at the pits already, but they will be reset and it will go into qualifying very shortly. But we're here at the Mugello circuit. Brilliant circuit. And we'll go through a lap of the track once qualifying gets going. So qualifying works a little bit differently in this series to perhaps other series. The 2 different categories of cars, the prototypes and the GT3s, will do their qualifying separately. So the first half of the session excuse me. Oh, I'll tell you what, before that, I'll get my excuses out of the way first. This morning I came down with a very sore throat, by the way, so of all the days where I could come down with a sore throat, it had to be today, didn't it? But yeah, rather unfortunately that had to happen, but there's my excuses out of the way very early on. Right, now we are into qualifying, but to describe the qualifying format for this season, the sprint qualifying format will be GT3s doing their laps at the beginning, and then for the first half of the session, and then for the second half of the session will be the LMDH. It's basically to ensure that drivers are not either the LMDH cars are not obstructed by the GT3s, or the GT3s are not compromised, shall we say, by the LMDHs. But yeah, it's quite a good move, I would say, from the admins. It's been run on quite a few of the seasons past the present. And here we go, we've got live pictures on the track. Mark Sykes, one of the hosts of Next Gen Racing Series, says the privateer is a Next Gen driver because he's not in the entry list for the teams. Naughty. But that'll be why. But yeah, you can see on our timing screen on the left there, we do have 5 categories in this championship. So quite a lot. We've got the Prototype Golds, Prototype Silvers, GT3 Golds, GT3 Silvers, and GT3 Bronzes. So quite a lot of categories to keep an eye on, I would say. And Mark Sykes heads into the final turn on the circuit. And I tell you what, Mark Sykes is going to give us an onboard of this track as we get into qualifying now. So here we go, heading down the main straight. Slight kink to the right and a slight kink to the left as we start the lap. Nothing really to worry about, but keep it as straight as possible so you can get your speed as high as possible as you head into turn number 1 here, which is the San Donato. Down to 60 miles per hour and second gear, a long right-hander of 180 degrees. Into Luco, which is an ease off the throttle and down to second gear, and then a little bit of a lift there as we head through turn 3. Up the hill and flattens out a bit, up the gears, and a light braking into the Materassi corner. Slight throttle and a little bit of trail braking as we head into the Borgo San Lorenzo corner. Down the hill we go into Casanova. This is one of the most picturesque parts on the track. And then down the hill into Savelli. Now into the Arrabbiata 1 and Arrabbiata 2. Fantastic meal. I had one earlier actually as it goes, just to get myself in the spirit of this track. Almost flat out corners around here, but very difficult. And actually going wide there was Mark Sykes coming out of Arrabbiata 2. Scarperia is the next corner. 80 miles per hour, 75 miles per hour, trying to get a late apex there so you can get a sharp entry into the next corner, which was the Pelagio, into the Correntiao. Second gear, late apex, you've got to take it wide and take a very late apex here. It's a very long corner, and then you're straight into the Biondetti chicane, 1 and 2, taking as much to curb as you can without going over track limits. And now the final corner, the Bacini corner, slight banking on this corner, over the hill, and then downhill and round this corner. You've got to get your throttle point exactly right. There, on the throttle now. And that is a lap of Mugello. What a beautiful, beautiful track. And it's great to have it on iRacing. It took so long for it to get here, but now it's here. It's absolutely fantastic. Right, let's see what else is going on. Mark Sykes, is he on the board just yet? That might have been an invalid time, but on the board in the golds, they're the ones to be looking out for the fastest lap times, but we have got 3 categories to keep an eye on. At the top of the golds at the moment is Karel Pachelka for Full Tilt Motorsport. Smart heads into second place with Ricardo Santos just putting himself into 3rd position for the moment. Meanwhile, in the silvers, just straight in there, excuse me, 2nd place, Kevin Stringer puts himself ahead of Baz Meacham in 2nd position, just half a tenth behind Stringer, and Jochen Siegert in 3rd position. For the bronzes, Kevin Smith doing pretty good. His time has actually put him 8th overall in the GT3, so he's running slow to let other cars by. Might have had a bad lap, and he's just trying to get himself in a good space of draft. Andy Rooney in 2nd position, with Stephen de Gravelia, newcomer to the series, in 3rd position. Nice livery there, Steve. I wonder who made that. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, the GT3s will do their session at the start here for the first half of qualifying, and then they'll come into the pits, and the LMDH cars will head out onto the track for the second half of the qualifying session. So when we get to around about 12.5 minutes, we'll see the LMDHs on the track and the GT3s off the track. Let's see what Pachelka can do here. 6/10 clear of Smart after that initial lap, but it does take a few laps for these GT3 cars to warm up their tyres, and realistically, the emptier your tank and the warmer your tyres, the better these GT3 cars can drive. And it's the same really with the prototypes. But realistically, in a 12.5 minutes, you're not going to get to that optimal point where you've got least amount of fuel in the car and your tyres at the optimum performance. Ben Bennyworth, I've just noticed, has put himself into 2nd place in the silver category, and Baz Meacham into 1st. But they are 5th and 6th, or now 6th and 7th outright, as Ben Alscher put himself into 4th position. Kieran Smart is in the pits at the moment, 2nd place in category. So we'll see if he'll do more laps shortly. Excuse me. Andy Rooney puts himself into first place in the bronze category, overtaking Smith in the standings and 10th outright in the GT3s. We've got 22, now 23 cars of the GT3s who have set valid times at the moment. Into 4th place at the bronze category, and 5th place Andy Chell and Davide Favo. And quite a big gap between 3rd and 2nd in the bronze category. 18th is Stephen de Grelier at the moment, but 1st and 2nd is Kevin Smith and Andy Rooney. Very, very good performances from them so far in this opening part of qualifying. It is still Karol Puchalka at the top, 6/10 clear. Kieran Smart is out on the track after heading into the pits initially. Edwin Simpson has just put himself onto the board, 4th position. At times during this broadcast, I am going to have to clear my throat. I apologise for that, ladies and gentlemen. But, has to happen, unfortunately. Of all the days I could get a sore throat. Hey-ho. Miles Owens onto the board. 8th place in the gold category. 11 drivers in the gold category at the moment. There's perhaps more in the gold category than there are the others. There's 9 in the silvers at the moment, and 6 on the board anyway for the bronzes. Now 11 drivers in the gold category, and we're seeing a lot of drivers heading up to the top 8. Russ Fowler is one of them, and I believe Jesse Payne-Wilkins has put himself into 3rd place in category. A good draft ahead of him by the looks of it from Nigel Stock, just ahead by the looks of it. But a good time for Jesse to put himself onto the board in 3rd place. Still about 8/10 of a second behind the leader, but it seems that Karol Puchalka, who's in the pits at the moment, so probably won't get much of a chance, or he's on an out lap at the moment, probably won't get much of a chance to set another lap, probably 1 or 2 opportunities if he's lucky. We'll see, we'll see. In the silvers, it's Baz Meacham at the top for Little Fuzzy Racing. Is a 10th, 12,000th of a second, sorry, what am I going on about? 0.12 seconds clear of Stringer at the moment, so really not that much of a gap. And that top 3, just over 1/4 of a second, split apart from each other. That's interval, that is. So we'll go to gap and we'll see the actual gaps between the drivers. So there we go, just shy of 3/10 between Bennyworth and Meacham. And now 1/4 of a second between Kieran Smart and Puchalka. So Kieran Smart put himself in a decent lap to get him significantly closer to Puchalka. Now, is this what we're going to see? Are we going to see these two at the top of the championships? To be honest, I'm not fully aware of history in this championship just yet. I haven't quite been aligned to that just yet. Well, you can see there, Kieran Smart went very wide there. And actually, I've never driven the Mugello circuit. And I just wondering, how lenient are the track limits on this track? So if anyone is watching on the broadcast that knows the track quite well, because you can see drivers going over the white line there, how lenient are the track limits on this track? Because it does seem quite lenient to me at the moment. But do as you're allowed to do, as they say in racing and sim racing. Oh, Smart held up there by a Lamborghini, and into the wall goes the Lamborghini. I can't quite figure out who that was. Not able to figure out who that was, but I couldn't quite tell if there was contact then. It might have been Craig Jones that went off the track then. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Didn't come up on the events there, that instant where the Lamborghini went off the track. I think it was Andy Chell, actually. But that'll be the end of qualifying for Andy Chell, because you have to go back to the pits. There won't be enough time to get back out and set another lap. Right, let's keep an eye on the times here. Keep an eye on the left of the screen. Drivers popping up and down on the top 5s in our leaderboard there. We've got Puchalka at the top of the GT3s at the moment, still on track, setting times. Baz Meacham at the top of the silvers, but Andy Rooney is 11th outright at the moment. You can see there's not much gap between Rooney and Meacham in the GT3 class. So Andy Rooney has put himself right amongst the silvers there, and I'm not entirely sure if drivers are allowed to move categories during the season. That's something that'll have to come to light at some point this season. There's nothing in the rules document about it, actually. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see indeed. Qualifying approaching the end very, very shortly for these GT3 drivers. There's a lot of drivers already in the pits. A lot of drivers greyed out on my timing screen. I can see here, and you can already start seeing the pit icon alongside drivers here. Now, are there drivers waiting at the end of the pits just yet that aren't in the the GTPs? Wondered if something we'd see is them waiting at the end of the pits, ready to go out onto the track. A little bit of a shout out to the comment section on YouTube. We've got Katie Eames. Good to see you again, Katie. Glad you're still watching the Next Gen Racing. And Verano Motorsport and Nigel Stock in the comments. Nigel texting and driving by the looks of it. Don't do that in real life, please don't. And I believe Matthew Shiverton very recently put himself into 3rd place here in qualifying. That's a very good second lap to get himself into a good position. 13th overall. I suppose that is realistic. In reality, what we're looking out for is the overall positions. But it is within categories that these drivers will score points. So it is worth keeping an eye on categories more notably. But I guess overall positions does kind of help, because if you can get some drivers in other categories between yourself and your rivals in your category, that's a good thing. And I think that's what Andy Rooney has done very, very well here, is he's off the track right now. I think just getting out of the way of other drivers. But he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 drivers between him and Kevin Smith on the grid for the sprint race. And drivers will be heading into the pits very shortly, as I believe the LMDH cars are on the track. They'll be on their out lap now. And the Bentley replica livery on the Acura there of Paul Williams. And you can see how quickly these cars are compared to the GT3 cars. It's extraordinary to watch. With the ground effect, really, really advanced aerodynamic advances on these cars. But Chinese whispers around the paddock, these prototype 1 cars or LMDH cars are not very good in the wet. So that'll be something to look out for as the season goes on. We're going to pick on William Guthrie here, and we're going to go for an onboard lap with William Guthrie. Although we've been through the lap already, it'd be nice to see it from a GTP car's perspective. Now, I'm picking on William Guthrie here because he put in a very good performance last time out in the shakedown at Sebring last week. So here we go. Nice fast pace. We are going 182 miles per hour, 83, 84 by the end of the straight there, down to 2nd gear and dropping 100 miles per hour for turn number 1 here. And you just see the wheel on the left there. Although the standing's obstructing it a little bit, you can just see how much they're wrestling with the cars here, because they got so much power generating through the tyres, and it's a handful to keep hold of them, especially in colder conditions, on colder tyres I might add as well. So we're going to see these prototype cars jumping to the top of the standings. They are considerably quicker than the GT3s. Now through the Arrabbiata corners, very nicely taken there, and you can go quite wide there by the looks of it. Really cranking the reel over in 5th gear was William Guthrie then. 2nd gear, lightly on the throttle, trying to get it through this chicane. This is a quick lap by the looks of it. We'll see how he gets on once he crosses the line. Got to be so patient on the throttle as well around this track. There's lots of long sweeping 180-degree corners. You've really got to time your throttle points to the optimum. And that'll be the end of the GT3 qualifying. They're all in the pits now. Pachalka is on pole for the GT3 Golds. Baz Meacham at the top for the Silvers. And in the bronze category is Andy Rooney. And they get bonus points in qualifying for only the sprint and feature race events. Guthrie to the top, 133.064. So we can see it's at least 14 seconds quicker than the GT3s. Who else have we got? Max de Leyden. He had a very good outing last time at Sebring as well. Is just shy of half a second behind Guthrie as he sets his lap. McCluskey, Benjamin McCluskey into 3rd place First of the silvers across the line is Luca Monroe. Pedro Ramada there, and his compatriot Miguel Alpalau. Gaz Williams, the host of the series. Big round of applause, everyone, for Gaz Williams, putting on such a great series yet again, along with Mark Sykes and the rest of the Next Gen Racing team. Big appreciation to them. As being an admin myself, I know how tricky it can be to host series, but it can be so fulfilling when you put on such a good series like what we've got here. So, big round of applause, virtually, from us to them. But Gaz Williams, third place in the standings at the moment. In the number 90 car. I love these sequence of corners here. Down that hill. It was great watching the Formula 1 cars go through here in the, what I call the bubble season, the COVID season. Call it the bubble season because it's a bit like in the NBA, they talk about being in the bubble, performing in the arena, in an arena in, I think it was Disney or something like that. So, and they say it didn't count for one reason or another. So that's why I call it the bubble season in Formula 1. But it's the only time Mugello has hosted in Formula 1. It was eventful, to say the least. Stephen Wessels goes to the top of the standings in the 43 Acura car. There's quite a few Acuras, actually, in this... Oh, are there? Oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4... Any more? 5... there's 5 Acuras, so not a bad contingent of them. But I think... the... excuse me. Oh, I couldn't help that one, sorry. The Cadillac and Porsche kind of... Yeah, the Cadillac's probably the more popular of the categories here. But Wessels to the top of the standings at the moment. He hasn't got a category at the moment. I'm fairly sure he's going to end up in the top category, the gold category. We'll place him there during the interval if we can. Paul Williams is in the silver category at the top at the moment. Taking that spot from Monroe. It was the first car we saw on track just a moment ago in that Bentley replica livery. It's not a Bentley, it's an Acura. It's a little bit different, but it still looks pretty good. I mean, that Bentley livery is classic. I remember the old... what were they called back in the day? Oh, I can't remember the category, but I just remember that car, or that livery on the actual Bentley, on this track on Forza Motorsport 2 back in the day. What a blast from the past. But that's where I fell in love with this track, is on Forza Motorsport 2. Let us know in the comments, what was your first experience of this track? And mine was definitely Forza Motorsport 2, and I absolutely loved it from the moment I tried it on that game. Let's see if on the fly I can give Wessels his category here, because he's definitely... gold category, but he wasn't in my spreadsheet. Algerstock says same. Yes, Forza Motorsport 2. I would say that was the best Forza, in my opinion. I'm a bit of an old school gamer myself, but yeah. Okay, we might have to do Wessels another time. Let's just assume that he'll be in the gold category. Not signed up. There we go. So, sneaking into the series. There we go. I have to see during the interval if I can get him into the category. It's a little bit hard to do it on the fly right here. Katie Eames Forza for me as well, yeah. I think that's what really put Mugello on the map for sim racers. Let's head back to the times here as Alpalau has gone to the top of the standings in the E-Racecraft Black. Half a second clear of Paul Williams at the moment, and 6th outright of the prototypes. Warming up the tyres a little bit more on an out lap as well. So the final few minutes of this session, we'll go for one last gasp just to cover off any incoming competitors on his time. Although half a second clear, he would be feeling quite comfortable right now. It's William Guthrie. You could probably say he's second of the golds at the moment, because I believe Stefan Wessels will go first in this category. But he really isn't that much clear of McCluskey and Delayden. We did see these three have quite an interesting battle in pre-season shakedown last time. Here we go, drivers will be starting the final few laps of their qualifying. I believe they'll get 1, 2, maybe 3 laps. No, no, 2 laps. It'll definitely be 2 laps here. South African driver of Wessels at the top of the standings at the moment. The 1:32.7 time is the quickest at the moment. Let's see if he'll hang on to it, as this the overall positions in each of these categories will set the grid, of course. Nigel Stock, the Horizons are good as well. I'm not a big fan of the Horizon Forces. I know they're better though. They are considerably better. I will give them that. I do prefer them to Gran Turismo. Excuse me. There we go. Wessels is now in the gold category. I just need to sort out Rui Saws later on. So Guthrie, let's see how he gets on this final. Will it be? Will it be his final lap? He might be able to squeeze in another here, Mike Guthrie. And just behind him is Dwayne Hoffman. Dwayne Hoffman's going to get a nice draft here from Guthrie. Let's see how Guthrie gets on this lap. Let's stick with him through this lap. See if he can best Wessels to the top of the standings and take pole position, which has bonus points, remember, ladies and gentlemen. I did mention that a while ago, but yes, bonus points of 1, and off the track goes Guthrie, and that really puts the excitement of that lap down the drain. So let's see if McCluskey can do something. He's really not that far off, just 0.2 of a second, but the bonus points for each category will be 1 for pole position. And there are bonus points, 1 bonus point in the sprint and feature races for the fastest laps. And McCluskey going slow on the right there, so I've got a feeling it's all down to Delayden now. Now the final corner will get another lap. Will Delayden. So the only thing is, the prototypes are going to get more laps than the GT3s. That's the only sort of caveat I would say to this qualifying format, actually, is they get more laps and they actually get the overtime allowance as the checkered flag's out. And if they're on the start of their lap now, which Delayden is, and just behind here we've also got Jamie Dory on a lap, I would say that's a little bit of a bonus for the GTP cars. But I guess the flip side to that, is the GTP cars warm up their tyres a little bit slower. So here we go. Delayden will be the last to set a lap in the GTP. So there's a few drivers still on track, actually. But they're going to be out there trying to improve their times. I think Delayden realistically is going to be the only one to threaten the top of the standings. Here comes Max Delayden. Across the line he'll go. Let's see if he can better 4th. Yes, he can. Straight into second position goes Max Delay. Then brilliant final lap there. And Jamie Dory puts himself higher into 7th place. So brilliant final laps there from the remaining GTP drivers on the track. Yes, that's actually a good response there, K-Warrior. It's, yeah, the GTPs will actually get, well, they do actually have recharge laps. It's a very, very good point, actually, because kind of like Formula 1, they'll charge up the battery, blast it for one whole lap for its maximum output, I guess, and then they'll have to recharge it. So that's a very good point, actually. So in reality, they probably get less laps than GT3s. But there you go, that's qualifying done and dusted. I understand we got a few issues with liveries on the stream at the moment. Truthfully, I refreshed Trading Paints earlier, so it will be whatever Trading Paints tell me it is. But I won't be able to do that until the break. That's updating the livery, shall I say. Because we're in the race session right now. We're about to get going for this opening round of the season. Drivers will start gridding up. And they're lining up around about 3/4 around the lap. So Arrabbiata is the last corner at the background there. And drivers are given, I believe it's 2 minutes to grid up here. But this is the opening round of the season. It's a sprint race, 20 minutes. And this will be one of the non-nervy parts of the season because drivers really, you know, qualifying, it might have gone well for them. So they might be feeling, well, on one part excited, one part a bit nervous, as, you know, not sure what to expect at the start of the season. You really don't know too much about the drivers you're racing against unless you have raced them in seasons before. But in which case, clean slate here. So all drivers at 0, it's the biggest opportunity to get onto the board high up, nice and early. The top 15 in each class can score points. It ranges from 18 to 1 across the top 15 in each class. So there's only a few classes here that have to worry about scoring 0 points for themselves. And there has to be a gap between the prototypes and the GT3s when they start, and they have to maintain the same speed as the safety car until the lights go green. Okie, off we go. Drivers are allowed to warm up their tyres a little bit, although it really isn't going to make that much difference. High speed is what betters warming up your tyres. Protos are away. We've got the GT3s here. We'll wait a bit further back and we'll go a little bit later on. But it is Stefan Wessels who will take the prototype field round to start the race. It's going to be a very, very interesting entrance to turn 1. With these cars going very, very quickly into that corner. Drivers wriggling around trying to warm up their tyres just a little bit. Going to make a little bit of difference, but not a huge amount. And we might actually... These GT3s are looking very, very close to the prototypes, actually. In the background there, you can just see a fair gap between them. Some drivers are more comfortable with closer gaps. Some drivers are closer with bigger gaps. That's just... I think it's just down to whatever the driver wants to do. So the safety car is going to peel off, and we're going to get underway for the first race of the season. Stefan Wessels will take him to the line. Round one of the championship is underway. Away we go. And Wessels takes them away on the inside. And it was a good start as well from Guthrie as well, as he's on the inside. And as we head into turn number one, Guthrie's on the outside. And a little bit of a dive to the inside there from McCluskey as well, as we see back here. And are these cars getting through? Oh, no, they're not. There's a big crash on the inside there. That was Stefan Wessels, actually. And Jamie Dory has spun on the outside there. It's carnage already in these GTPs. And there's GT3s off as well. So a very dramatic start. There are a lot of cars going slow on the inside here as the start of the race has not quite gone to plan already. But it is Guthrie leading the way in the prototypes at the moment. It is Karol Pachalka still leading in the GT3s. The top three is relatively unchanged in these GT3s. Now, in a moment, we will go and check on some of those incidents. But let's just keep an eye on the racing at the moment. Guthrie with a very good start here in the GT3s, but it's quite a close battle here between Deladen, McCluskey and Gaz Williams as we head towards the latter part of the lap. GT3s, Pachalka here leading, and he's got a little bit of an imminent threat coming in from Kieran Smart. Real close to him as we head through the chicane here. Jesse Payne-Wilkins dropping off a little bit here, but we've got close battle here between Russ Fowler and Hugo Rees, and we've got a prototype car heading back through there. That's Hugo Silva with a missing rear wing, and that's going to be very difficult to handle. Back towards the front, Guthrie leads away, 1 second clear at the moment. A great start for him in this race. No safety car at the moment, I believe, despite the incidents there. And the end of lap one in the GT3 cars, it is Pachalka who's going to lead at the end of the lap, as we can still see the prototype car without the rear wing really struggling, and they are going into the pits. It's a very wise move. The car is unable to continue in reality. So let's go back and check on some of those incidents. Stefan Wessels was the pole sitter of the GTPs, the prototypes. So if we head out of turn one there... Oh, there was contact. There was contact between him and Guthrie. It would definitely go to the stewards after, but you can see Guthrie put the power down a lot earlier than Wessels did and tried to go to the left but couldn't quite get there. Now I'm going to see what happened to Jamie Dory as well. So Jamie Dory is in the purple car here. We'll go on board. Just a passenger and that. Just got, yeah, it might have gone 3 wide at the very last second. And it didn't quite work out for Jamie Dory. A dive on the inside from one driver to another. And that's what caused the spin for Jamie Dory, unfortunately. End of lap 2. Guthrie still leads, extending his lead to nearly 2 seconds. In the GT3s, Pachalka still leading from Kieran Smart. In the silvers for the GT3s, first place at the moment is not Paul Williams, it is Kevin Stringer at the moment in the silvers. In the silvers for the prototypes, leading the way at the moment is there seems to be a little bit of shuffling going on in the category. It seems to have calmed itself down a little bit. It's Al Palau, who was pole sitter for the silvers, leading the way in the category at the moment. He's got quite a bit of a gap between himself and Luca Munro, who's all the way back here. 2 corners clear, actually. 6 seconds clear is Al Palau from Luca Munro. And in the bronze category for the GT3s, it is Kevin Smith of Verano Motorsports. Battling it out there with Matthew Cheverton. Matthew Cheverton started quite high up in the silvers, so I wonder if he was one of the cars that was involved in the scuffle earlier on in the race, on the first lap, shall we say. And already drivers lapping other cars that have had to go into the pits. And Guthrie's already catching up to said back markers. Oh, what a big dive to the inside. It's a GT3 car. Rightfully lets the prototype car go. Let's see what close battles we got on the track at the moment. We've got Gaz Williams alongside, I believe that's Miguel Alpalo. And it is. Completed move from Alpalo there. And this is Hugo Silva trying to get himself back through the field. Kevin Smith there of the bronze category leading at the moment. Got quite a buffer between himself and second place in category, which is Jeffrey Kruger. So nice and comfortable for Kevin Smith in the Verano Motorsport car at the moment. Has got a bit of company overall from other silver category cars such as Nigel Stock. Because I know Nigel, I know this, but he is the outgoing bronze category champion. So he's been promoted to the top, to the silver category. This is a good race so far from Miguel Alpalo. This has been a bit of a standout performance so far, I would say, in this race, as he's really mixing it in with the gold drivers here and is really leaving the silver drivers behind. I mean, it's been a good start to the race for Luca Monroe. 6 places gained, and actually the biggest gainer of the field seems to... actually, I think the standings have kind of mixed up a little bit. I'm not quite sure what's going on. It seems that some drivers have gained 20 places, which I'm not entirely sure is correct. We'll have to check that. We'll have to check that. But other battles going on the track at the moment. Nice battle here between Jake Pitt and Kevin Stringer just ahead. These are the silver category drivers in GT3. There's half a second between them at the moment, so this might get nice and spicy towards the end of this race. We're not even at the halfway point yet, but they are keeping up with some of the gold drivers up ahead, which would really be helping along Kevin Stringer in terms of slipstream. Getting slipstream in these GT3 cars is very, very useful indeed. One, it helps you save fuel, which is not entirely relevant in these sprint races, but it does certainly help in the feature races. But generally, getting better speed out of the car makes you more comfortable, makes you more confident. This is a very dominant performance so far from William Guthrie. 3.5 seconds clear of Delayden, who is still under pressure from McCluskey. Quite a good start to the season for Guthrie. Moved up 2 places from the starting position of 3rd. He might have been disappointed with that qualifying position, given that he's doing so well in this race here so far. GT3 car on the right there, just moving out of the way of the LMDH cars. Now, there are specific rules about for back markers and lapping back markers that the drivers have to abide to. Not going for it, not going for silly moves during the corners. I would say that one was good from Delayden, but this is the tricky part of endurance racing, and this is the part you've really got to master your craft at, I suppose, is timing your overtakes of other categories and letting other categories past you. Alternatively, you've got to really time it to perfection, and it is a bit of a fine art, as McCluskey had a really good run through the Arrabbiata curves there. I love the fact that they're called the Arrabbiatas. What a fine meal. But this is the part in the race where typically the prototype categories position to position can get split up from GT3 cars. Not necessarily getting in the way, that's not the way that anyone should put it, but well, not able to pass them, shall we say. And that's the frustration that happens on iRacing with the prototype cars. An alternative for the GT3 cars, if a prototype car makes an ambitious move on the GT3 car, it can put them out of whack as well. It's the long-term battle that's always gone on iRacing, is GT3s versus prototypes. Alpalau's doing very good here in the silver category, catching up with the top 3 outright here. Now, it's not going to do anything to him points-wise, but certainly does put him in good stead for the season. as Luca Monroe is not too far behind. He's actually been putting in some good laps here. The last lap was a bit slow, and this one will be as well. Oh, trying to get past the next-gen racing car there of... That was Gavin Gardner then. But Gavin Gardner was on the racing line. It was down to Luca Monroe to find his way past, and that's actually dropped him off a little bit from the other prototype cars up ahead. Let's keep an eye on the GT3 cars as well. This is Pachalka leading of the GT3 cars. I don't think he's got any imminent threats from the prototypes just yet, but it has split up a little bit between these GT3 Gold category cars. As we can see, the gaps between Wilkins, Smart and Pachalka are quite big here. And here comes Guthrie about to lap Payne Wilkins. Has just lapped Ben Altria. But this would be a relieving sight for William Guthrie as he's approaching the end of the GT3 crowd. He can have a bit of time on his own in that car, but it still means the GT3 cars are going to be letting through the prototype cars. It's quite a nervy part of the race, it is, as we've just alluded to. And look at this cluster of cars here as the prototypes are filtering through the GT3 car. And you can just see there, Russ Fowler was a little bit startled, shall we say, by the prototype car coming through there. I believe that was Max DeLeeden just passing him. And that is Miguel Alpalau trying to get through. And this will be one of the more tricky tracks to overtake from category to category on this calendar. It's quite a narrow track actually, and it's actually a fairly slow track in comparison to other excuse me, other tracks on the calendar. Oh, was there a car off on the inside there? There did look like there was a car off on the inside there. We'll just check who it was. I'm not sure if we could quite capture it then. Let's see. Was it Alan McCain who went off just then? Okay. Maybe not. Oh, we're not able to see who that was just then, but there was a car off on the inside there. I'm not quite sure if it was from an incident or not. No notable drivers in the top 5, shall we say, that seems to have gone amiss here. But we have got a close battle for the top spot in the silvers at the moment. It's Stringer versus Bennyworth. Bennyworth putting in some good laps here to close the gap to Stringer. Might we see a move here going into turn 1? Not much slipstream for Stringer here, and Bennyworth is gaining on the Ferrari up ahead. Bennyworth's in the BMW here. This could well be a move for the lead going into turn 1. Here we go. Bennyworth lunges to the inside, but it's not quite close enough nor late enough on the brakes to get it alongside. But there'll be another lap, there'll be another corner for Bennyworth to complete that move. We'll have to set up the rest of these corners to try and make a move on Stringer in the Ferrari car just up ahead. And also the prototypes to help them along. Classic. Oh, and that was close between the prototype there and Ben Bennyworth. Bennyworth has dropped off a little bit from Stringer as a result of that. So that's the thing. It can help. Oh, and there is another. That is Ben Alcher off there. And I think we can get a replay of that. Alcher on his own there. And a little bump of the curb there, just pushing him off wide. Cutting the corner a little bit too much. He's on his own here, it seems. Oh, just spins it on the outside there, and that is a crumpled front end, unfortunately, for Ben Altria. In the gold category for the GT3s. Bennyworth has dropped off here in the silvers from the lead, which is Kevin Stringer. Matthew Cheverton in third position here of the category, and Nigel Stock made his way up to fourth position in category. Flash of the lights there from the prototype car, probably to say thanks for letting me through. Meanwhile, Guthrie still leads. Time is still trying to refresh. Miguel Alpalau still first of the silvers, right on the rear of McCluskey, and this will really unsettle McCluskey because they know who's in what category, just like what we do on this overlay here. But they have it in the form of there's a letter in their name on iRacing that tells them what category they're in, and Alpalau right on the rear of McCluskey may well unsettle McCluskey. So you'd be thinking, hey, you're not in my category, you're not my fight. But Alpalau right now will be thinking, well, I just want to get as high an overall position as possible, and I want to get away from my competitors. Let's check on the other categories. We have got Pachalka in the lead of the GT3 category. Gold still 4 seconds clear of Smart and 10 seconds clear of Payne Wilkins. Stringer still leads in the silver category. And in the bronze category is Kevin Smith leading. Still. In second placing category is Jeffrey Kruger, who's moved up 16 places overall. So quite an impressive race. And actually the standings have kind of sorted themselves out a little bit. I think it is Kruger who's moved up the most places overall in this race, I believe. See how much my standings are deceiving me. Over the halfway point, 3/4 of the way through the race, so it'll be the final few laps of this race, and there's a couple of drivers who are really settled into a nice groove here. One of them being William Guthrie, who seems to be 10 seconds clear at the moment. He's just carving his way through at the moment. Real fine art racing here from the Full Tilt Motorsport green driver in the 36 car, hurtling his way towards a race win here. It would have been interesting if Wessels didn't have that incident at the start of the race, but it might be something that stewards end up looking at after this race during the week. That incident they might well look at, and they might well deem Guthrie to be a guilt for it. They might not. They might see it as a racing incident. We're not really going to judge incidents too closely on these broadcasts. I'm not quite a big fan of doing that. I like to state the facts. I don't like to post opinion on things like that on broadcasts. That's just my preference. This, I mentioned it previously, this is one of the standout performances from me, is Alpalau leading the silver category here, heading around the outside of the GT3 car, which I think was Stephen de Greveglia. The fact that he's so close to the top 3 gold drivers as well, I just wonder if it is going to change categories during the season. That's something I might want to make myself aware of, ready for the next round, I suppose. I'm not sure if drivers are going to move around categories or not, or if they're stapled in right from the word go. Someone can let me know that. That'd be handy as well. Gaz Williams here in 4th place, hunting down Alpalau. Alpalau's dropped off a little bit. There might have been a few back markers he struggled to overtake. But Gaz Williams here, 4th position in the golds, 5th place overall. Guthrie will be starting his final lap. The white flag waves from the marshal there as he heads towards an opening win of the season, as does Alpalau in the silver category of the prototypes. As does Karol Pachalka in the GT3 golds. And then the silvers for the GT3s, Kevin Stringer leads. Ben Bennyworth is closing in, and I think Matthew Cheverton is as well. So this is looking like a very interesting class here to keep an eye on. These will get another lap, will these silver drivers? Jeffrey Kruger is leading in the bronze category, so something's happened to Kevin Smith, because he was leading. Let's see if I can go back through the events. I'm getting a lot of overtakes on here, so I might have to filter out overtakes from off tracks and that sort of thing. Let's see if we can find what happened to Kevin Smith very quickly before we move to our winners. Kevin Smith entered the pits, it says here. I wonder why. Let's see if we can find out in between the races. But the winner of our opening race of the season for the Prototype Gold, William Guthrie, takes the opening win of the season. A dominant drive ahead of his rivals. And then for the silver category, Miguel Alpalau takes the win in the Prototype Silvers, and 4th overall. A very, very good performance from the Portuguese driver. Next across the line of the winners will be Karol Pachalka, has got quite a gap ahead of Smart, nearly 5 seconds. Taken pole position and converted it to a win in category. Heading around the final section of the track. So it was quite a dramatic first race, actually, of the season. And remember, it's across each car category. Oh, and there was a car off on the inside there. That is Andy Chell. Getting away now and kept it on the brakes and kept it in the middle, which might have looked dangerous but probably was the best thing to do because it allowed the drivers to go around. But Karol Pachalka wins in the GT3 Gold category and takes the opening win of the season. Winner of the silver category, and just hanging on from Ben Bennyworth, will be Kevin Stringer here. Across the line. Bennyworth didn't quite have enough to overtake Stringer, but it does bode as well for the races ahead. The next race of the night ahead, of course, will be a 60-minute race, so plenty of opportunity through pit stops and traffic for other drivers to get in the mix. And we didn't quite see him cross the line because he was earlier than the other categories we saw, but it's Jeffrey Kruger who won in the bronze category, having taken Kevin Smith, who went into the pits during that race for one reason or another. But there we go. We'll go to the results now. And we'll just go through each category. So of the Prototype Golds, William Guthrie takes the win from Max Saliden and Ben McCluskey, rounding off the top 3. Gaz Williams takes 4th with Igor Martinez in 5th and Jamie Dory in 6th. Hugo Silva in 7th from Sean Shute in 8th position, and Stefan Wessels did finish the race, but quite a few laps down, having got repairs and a few pit stops. And Felipe Salvino, by the looks of it, did not finish the race. On to the Prototype Silvers. Miguel Alpalau, with the win, 12.8 seconds clear of Luca Monroe in 2nd position, with Pedro Ramada in 3rd position from Mark Baker in 4th, Dwayne Hoffman from 5th place. 6th place to Jorge Cabrita, Wesley Lewin in 7th and Paul Williams in 8th. Nathan Healy rounding off in 9th place. All were finishers in this race. GT3 Golds. Winner of that was Karol Pachalka, as we saw, with a near 6-second gap to Kieran Smart in 2nd place, who had an even bigger gap to Jesse Payne-Wilkins in 3rd place. Rui Reese in 4th position from Russ Fowler. Edwin Simpson in 6th position from Craig Jones. Ben Altria, we did see a little bit of drama from Ben Altria during the race, finishes 8th place with Alan McCain in 9th place. Miles Owens in 10th, Gavin Gardner 11th, and Ricardo Santos 12th position. All those drivers taking finishes as well. Silver category, now we saw this was pretty close towards the end, and you can see 4 seconds between the top 4 in this category. Kevin Stringer in 1st position from Ben Bennyworth in 2nd. Matthew Cheverton in 3rd from Nigel Stock. A lap or more down the rest of the field in the GT3 Silvers were Mark Sykes, Mike Riedner, Baz Meacham, who was leading for a point in the GT3 Silvers, Jochen Siegert and Jake Pitt. Bronze category for the GT3s, and we did see a twist in the tail as Jeffrey Kruger took the lead with Kevin Smith going into the pits, and will take a second position in category there. Elwyn Sykes for third place with Stephen de Gravelia in fourth position, Andy Rooney fifth, Andy Chell in sixth, Davide Favo in seventh position, and Costa Constantino in eighth position. I hope I got that one right. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that was the opening race of the night. A reminder of the calendar. We're here at Mugello for the first round of the season. We've got a feature race coming up very, very shortly. It'll be a 1 hour race, and there will be a pit stop involved. Excuse me, couldn't hold that one in. We'll be back very, very shortly as we go for a quick break, but when we come back, it will be the feature race here at Mugello Circuit for round 1 of the multi-class league for Next Gen Racing. Don't go away, we'll be back soon.
What do Elmer, Jimmy and Marcus have?
Did you see with Voxy, you can get unlimited social media from just £10 a month?
Shame not one person is sliding into your...
Welcome back everyone to Mugello for round one of the Next Gen Racing Multi-Class League featuring prototypes and GT3 cars. We're in round one of the season Excuse me for the lagging a little bit. It's just iRacing trying to boot up a little bit. Round 1 of the season. We're heading into the feature race very, very shortly. We're in round 1 right now. We'll be heading to Aragon next week. Huge shout out to our sponsors of Next Gen Racing. We have Benji Sim Photos, Mark Sykes Designs, Higgins Automotive, PowerMax Racing, Motorsport UK Esports, Sam Cases, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, and IMB Racewear. If you head into Next Gen's bios on the relevant social media profiles, you'll be able to find the links and relevant affiliate codes, etc. for these sponsors, including Benji Sim Photos, who will be posting some very nice screenshots of the races after each event, and it does so for the touring car races as well in Next Gen Racing. So that's something to look out for in the build-up to each race and the post-mortem for each race, I suppose. So we're back into the server here, and we're going to be heading into the race very, very shortly, and we'll be revealing the grid for the race. And something I misinterpreted from the rules is actually that the reverse grids are each class. So it is not full reverse grids within categories, within car classes. It's each category, skill category, that are reversed. So without further ado, here's the grid for the next race of the night. So it would be Sean Shute starting on pole position here, with Ruiz Suarez in second position from Hugo Silva, Jamie Dory, Igor Martinez, and Gaz Williams in 6th position. Ben McCluskey will start 7th from Max Deleden, and Will Guthrie in 9th position, and 10th will be Stefan Wessels. Nathan Healy in 11th from Paul Williams. This is the silver category of the prototypes now we're looking at. In the second row of the silver category, Wesley Lewin from Jorge Cabrita. Dwayne Hoffman in 15th from Mark Baker in 16th. Pedro Ramada in 17th from Luca Monroe in 18th. Miguel Alpalau, the winner in race 1, will start 19th. 20th will start Ricardo Santos from Gavin Gardner. This is the GT3 class here. Miles Owens from Alan McCain and Ben Oucher in 24th. Craig Jones will start 25th from Edwin Simpson. Russ Fowler 27th from Rui Reese. Jesse Payne Wilkins in 29th from Kieran Smart. Carol Pachalka, the winner of the gold category, in 31st. Jake Pitt will start 32nd from Jochen Siegert, and Baz Meacham in 34th. 35th will be Mark Riedner from Mark Sykes. Nigel Stock will start 37th with Matthew Cheverton in 8th. Kevin Stringer will start 39th. Costa Chats will start 40th from Davide Favo in 41st, and Andy Chell in 42nd. Andy Rooney will start 43rd from Stephen de Gravelia, and Elwin Sykes 45th from Kevin Smith in 46th, and Jeffrey Kruger in 47th. Phew, I didn't think I was going to get through that. But we're heading towards the grid here. And reverse grids within each category, as I mentioned. So it's the gold still at the front, but it's reversed. As we head towards the final corner, and we will start the race. The 60-minute feature race, which will feature a pit stop in this race. Suarez and Shute will lead them round. It does say Suarez is a silver category driver in my stands, but we'll have to update that to gold. Here we go, we're about to start. And the GT3 drivers are well back this time than what they were previously. And away we go. Shute leads them away. Oh, and we got a bit of a disco going on with iRacing trying to refresh everything. And it looks like a pretty good start from Shute as we head into turn number 1. As all the GTP cars head into turn number 1. Oh, and a big hit up the rear. And a spin in the middle there from, I think it was Hugo Silva. But that might have caused some drama further back. Let's see if we can keep an eye. It was Hugo Silva. Let's keep an eye on Hugo Silva as we just take a quick replay just to get a full grasp of this. Went a bit too hot into the corner there. Oh, and that collects quite a few drivers. Wow, actually a lot of drivers did manage to avoid that as we go back to the live pictures. Come on, let's get back. And we're on the wrong camera. There we go. Meanwhile, in the GT3s, it is Santos leading the way. He breaks away from Miles Owen by over a second already. And remember, it's quite a big mix-up in the reverse grids. The bigger categories, it will mix them up more than others. Jamie Dory seemed to come off well from that. He's in third place here with a place gained, as his picture tells us quite a lot there. that picture plagued me in the MX-5 streams back in the day. But a good start to the race for Jamie Dory. Does say he's second, but Suarez says he's silver. He's actually in the gold category, so we'll update that, see if we can do that on the fly. Meanwhile, in the silver category, it is Ramada who leads the way there. 10 places gained by the looks of it from the start, so it's quite a mix-up in the silver category. Of course, they were right in the middle of that kerfuffle at the start there. We've got Guthrie back here, who's lost a few places from the start. I wonder if there's damage on Guthrie's car. It looks like the front left might have a little bit of damage on it. Just trying to suss it out. No, it might not be, actually, but it might have been that Guthrie was avoiding an incident. But he is at the back of the prototypes at the moment. Meanwhile, in the GT3s, it is Ricardo Santos leading the way. Simpson in second position, with Miles Owens in third position. Silver category. It is Cheverton that is leading in the silver category at the moment. So Cheverton finished third in race 1. So quite a good start to this race for him. And in the bronze category, it's Kevin Smith leading the way. Now, Kevin Smith probably could have won race 1 in the category, but a pit stop, for some unknown reason, did hamper that. So we head back towards the front. It is still Sean Shute who leads the way, and is actually breaking away a little bit from the cars further back here. As we can see, McCluskey gaining on Jamie Dory here, potentially making a move, heading into turn 1 to enter third position. McCluskey will be keen to get through and get further places ahead, as DeLayden right behind finished ahead in the sprint race and will have the upper hand in points. So McCluskey would be keen to get away. Oh, as they battle through, and DeLayden is getting through on Jamie Dory as well. Jamie Dory fighting very fairly there, but lets through the two cars. McCluskey and DeLayden are through into third and fourth. This is a big advantage for them on Guthrie, who's back in 7th position at the moment. Not 7th position. Yes, 7th position in category. But 14th overall, so a huge gaggle of prototype cars between Guthrie and Gaz Williams, who's the next gold driver, miles up the road at the moment, as we can see here. Silver category, Ramada leads from Cabrita. Both teammates for E-Racecraft, should I say, so they'll be working together. Paul Williams in the very notable Bentley livery there. Oh, as Cabrita eases off a little bit there. Was that an off-track? It wasn't. I believe Cabrita made a little mistake there and has let through Paul Williams. Now, I'm just going to do something on the fly here so we can get the standings a little bit more accurate. We'll get back to the racing very shortly, and we'll get back to commenting very shortly. So there we go, this should sort it out. Light refresh, there we go. Suarez is in the gold category now. Some categories are decided on the races because some drivers didn't do the pre-season or weren't able to do the pre-season. So a lot of categories are done kind of on the fly in the league and on this broadcast. Unfortunately, it's just the way it kind of goes with high category races like this one. Let's keep an eye on the GT3s as well. This is in the bronze category. Kevin Smith, Andy Chell back here in second place. Now, Andy Chell, can't quite remember where he finished in race 1, but it wasn't in the top 3, I believe. So this is looking good so far for Andy Chell. Stephen de Gravelia in third place. He'll be pleased with that. and in the silver category. Now this is split up a little bit. There's a lot of the silver category lower down in the field. I'm just going to see what's going on with the likes of Riedner and Stock. They might have had a little bit, they all might have had a bit of a coming together at the start. Stock is on his own here after the 4th place he finished in race 1. Baz Meacham is here in 46. He's in the pits getting repairs by the looks of it. Or has retired. I believe there are fast repairs. In this race, there'll be 2 fast repairs per driver. So this has really mixed up the field in the GT3 Silvers. As Cheverton would have come out, at the moment anyway, come out best of all of them. Kevin Stringer was the winner of that category in race 1, in the sprint race. So 5th place for him at the moment is not too bad, but Cheverton up ahead will impose a threat when it comes to points. I know we're only 1 round in, but you've still got to cover these things. 1 round can make all the difference in the championship. Back towards the front. Shoot, out on his own at the moment. Near 3 seconds clear of McCluskey, so he's actually holding his own pretty well. McCluskey would be keen to get his foot down and really heading towards that top spot up ahead, as the lead-in is still behind Suarez here, so McCluskey made the move on Suarez. Let's see if we can see where that happened. So we keep an eye on the lead-in, looking to the inside. Couldn't quite make it there. Quite an ambitious overtake if it was by there. No, not able to find that overtake from McCluskey at the moment. There's so many events happening on this in this race at the moment, as Jake Pitts seems to be in the pits now. Is this a tactical stop for fuel early on? Let's see if we can find out. Now, the varying strategies is something we're going to have to get used to race by race with this series. Will drivers pit earlier to try and get the upper hand later on in the race? And will drivers take tyres? That's another thing. So there we go. Away goes Jake Pitt. Now I wonder if the thinking here for Jake Pitt is, if he pits early, less time in the pits perhaps? Not too sure. But we'll see. It's an interesting strategy. And at least with Pitt, he'll be out on his own on the track, so he can get some clean laps in. I guess that's the benefit, is the GTP prototype cars. I've caught up to some of the GT3s already. Shoot makes his way past and actually has lost a second in the last minute or so to McCluskey, and the lead-in is now right behind McCluskey, so Suarez has dropped back a little bit by the looks of it. That may have been, yeah, we can see an off-track here. Let's see what happens here. Coming up on some GT3 cars here. Oh, really struggling to get through there. And there the car. Oh, and there's big contact from behind from... I think that might have been Wessels, you know. So Wessels really can't catch a break in this round, it seems. As Suarez going very slow there. And actually it was Wessels who made contact. But Suarez was being held up by GT3 cars. He makes his way to the pits, and it's actually a car off there as well. That was Jorge Cabrita. Let's see if we can get a quick snap replay of that. It's quite a big off-track by the looks of it. So there we go. Heading towards the chicane. It'll be the final corner. Coming up on GT3 car, and it's actually, this might be the struggle in the feature race here for these prototype cars. They're battling with other drivers in category. They're also trying to get through traffic. Oh, big netcode there between him and Andy Williams, and more netcode, and that sent him off and into the GT3 car just up ahead there. So I think this is just something we're going to see from between these prototype drivers and these GT3 drivers, is the prototypes are in I've got such high amount of power and are trying to make it through these GT3 cars. You can see here McCluskey and Deleden really fighting with each other and trying to get around the GT3 cars as well. They're going to power it around the outside of all of these. So you can see the excuse me, the race 1 winner there, Pachauka. No, that wasn't Pachauka, that was someone else. I think that was Kieran Smart, actually. Yep, it was. Letting him through there, just sticking to his line and letting the cars go around the outside. Shoot has lost a lot of time to McCluskey and Deleden. We'll see what he can do in terms of hanging on to this position from those 2 drivers. But this is the tricky part, is you're battling for position and you're in reverse grid races as well. That's the tricky thing. Oh, good question, K-Team. So, if drivers move categories, let's say if they do they keep their points? That's a really good question. I don't know, to be honest. How would I do it? I guess you would base their points off of where they finished relative to that category in the previous races, which it might not work necessarily because the reverse grids happen based on the categories rather than the outright GT3. So I'm not actually sure, Katie, but that's a really good question, actually. So here we go. This is McCluskey right on the rear of Sean Shute, and this is the battle for the lead in the Prototype Gold category. And Deleden has dropped back a little bit through trying to get through the traffic. But McCluskey will be going for the lead here. Let's see what he can do on this front straight here. Well, I wonder if he's saved up some hybrid here. By the looks of it, it's actually looking like Shooter's going to hang on to it on this straight at the moment. So that's another thing to consider, is hybrid deployment in these cars. It's not 100% manual deployment. You can have various different statuses, I guess is the term, for these cars and how much they deploy the hybrid. But on a track like this, where there are, well, actually, I was about to say there's quite a few braking zones on this track. There actually aren't. There's a lot of very light braking zones, and there's a few lift and coast kind of moments. So actually saving up hybrid could be pretty tricky on a track like this. Now they're free, shall we say, of the GT3s, and just wide there goes McCluskey. That'll be an invalid lap and a 1x. There are incident point limits as well in this series, and I'm just going to go refer to the document to see how many there are. They do vary from race to race. And let's get back to the action here, and we'll look at that shortly. Look at this, gaining from McCluskey here. That is big hybrid deployment there. He's really saved it up for that straight. Oh, and just splitting. There's a little bit of a Schumacher versus Hakkinen and Zonta moment from 1998 at 2000, sorry, at Spa. And actually McCluskey go around the outside of turn 1 and then into turn 2, completes the move, takes the lead of the Prototype Gold here, and Max Deleden is heading to the right side, the outside for the next corner. Can't quite make the move on Shoot here, but Deleden will be keen to hang on to the back of McCluskey for as long as he can, trying to make the move. He's looking there, but it's not really the most ideal place to overtake, and actually there's quite a few corners here where Deleden is really going to struggle to overtake Shoot. Maybe a good a good exit out of Arabiata here might well make it, but he's actually dropped back a little bit. I wonder if he's trying to save up some hybrid and time this overtake of the back marker here in the GT3s. That's Elwin Sykes, I believe, and has actually dropped back a little bit. So Shoot might well be safe for another lap here at least, but that really helps out McCluskey. He's able to break away from Deleden now, and he's actually broke away by more than 2 seconds. So not necessarily a huge gap, but it is going to help McCluskey in defending this lead in this category at the moment. Race 1 winner Guthrie is up to 5th place in category, has made back a few positions and a bit of time, but it's going to be quite difficult for him to get a win out of this race as well. But pit stops can change things. Let's focus on other categories for a moment as well. We've got Ramada here, all out on his own at the moment, actually putting in a really good stint here. Mark Baker, sorry, the closest to him, near 7 seconds back, and Luca Monroe, who had a pretty good race 1. 3rd place here, and it's actually split up quite a bit between all these drivers in the silver category. Race 1 winner, Alpalau did have involvement in the incident on lap 1. He's 6th place at the moment and has got quite a bit of time to make up, 29 seconds to be precise on the leaders. Meanwhile, in the GT3 category, Ricardo Santos still leads here, 1 second ahead of Edwin Simpson, and Karol Pachelka is in 3rd place. Oh, as he's got... I think that was Wessels trying to get around there. Oh, and there was a car off on the outfield there. That is Alan McCain. And he's gone off track and into the tyre wall. And we can get his incident here. Heads into turn 1. He's on his own here, and he's down in 44th place. Hits the inside a bit too hard. And hits it again. Yeah, I think that might have put the suspension out of alignment, hitting that inside curb. So it's not been a good start to the season for Alan McCain in that gold category Next Gen Racing Audi there. But let's head back to the category we're looking at. Yeah, Karol Pachelka is in 3rd place. Oh, as we see a rear wing missing from... we couldn't quite get who that was there. It was, by the looks of it, I think that was Hugo. Was it Hugo Silva or was it... Yeah, it was Cabrita. Jorge Cabrita. Rear wing missing from the E-Racecraft car there, and you can actually see some of the logo is chopped off of that car there. Has to be really careful getting in the pits here, not to get in the way of the drivers. That car will be really loose on the rear, very difficult to handle, but we'll get a fast repair, presuming they're not already being utilised, and we'll be able to carry on, but some time would have been lost for the silver prototype driver there. But yeah, for the 3rd time lucky, Pachelka is the race 1 winner, and 3rd place right here, right now, is very, very good for him. Kieran Smart was 2nd and is in 5th, still pretty good. And this puts him in good stead for perhaps a 2nd place in the championship heading out of tonight. And likewise, 3rd place for Jesse Payne Wilkins in the in race 1. 7th here, and has got some cars to catch up and pass still. Silver category for the GT3s. Matthew Sheridan leads at the moment. Finished in the top 3 in race 1. So this really puts him in good stead, and he's a long way clear at the moment from Stringer. 16 seconds to be precise. And Nigel Stock has got himself up to 3rd place. So this category has really, really been mixed up. There's a lot of drivers out in categories. Actually only 4 still running in the silvers. Oh, as iRacing has a bit of a wobbly. There we go. We'll go to someone else just to get it booted up again. Kevin Smith going off track there, leading the category at the moment. You don't need to push that hard, Kevin. You're doing good. He leads the category at the moment, and Stephen de Gravelia is in 2nd place in category at the moment. So he's not too far behind Kevin Smith at the moment. Just a few corners behind. So Stephen de Gravelia on his debut, not doing too bad, actually. And Davide Favo is perhaps closing in just behind as he lets through William Guthrie. Some very interesting stuff going on in these inter-category battles. But I'd say this is the closest one of them all, is the 3-way battle here for the GT3 Gold cars. Very close here. And this might be the point in the race where pit strategy will come into play. As we can see here on the battle box on the bottom right here, just half a second, or just over half a second, between Simpson and Santos up ahead. Puchalka is just over a second behind, but Puchalka being the race 1 winner, he'll be the imminent threat for these drivers in this battle. This is the final sector of the track. Simpson getting a bit on the power a little bit too early in the Porsche GT3 car here. Had to ease off the throttle and then get back onto it. Puchalka is now under a second behind Simpson. No hybrid in these cars, so it's purely down to natural straight line speed between these cars. Less than half a second between Simpson and Santos. Less than a second between Puchalka and Simpson. That's the view from behind of the closing in. Puchalka much later on the brakes, heading into turn number 1 there. Puchalka wants the double win here. He wants the maximum points. Got pole position. Most likely got the fastest lap in race 1. But in terms of wins, it's looking pretty good for Puchalka at the moment. But catching is one thing, passing is another. And then pit stops is something to also consider, is who gets the best pit stops and who has the best strategy in these races. Pit stops should be coming up relatively soon, as I believe there is less in the tanks than normal for these cars, because normally these cars can do between 45 minutes and an hour. 80% fuel, so that will put it down to around about 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, yeah, potentially that amount for these cars in this race. As I believe that coming through there is Alpalau. And you see Puchalka really close on Simpson here. Simpson didn't have a good exit from the corner. All over the rear is the European driver of Puchalka, 69 racing car in the Porsche. Lunch to the inside, is on the inside, and has potentially made that work. Can he keep it to the inside and keep it away from driving into the side of Simpson? By the looks of it, it's going pretty well. But actually a good exit there from Simpson, gets him back ahead, and having to tuck back into the slipstream is Puchalka. But will he get a good run going into turn 1 like he did previously? Yes, he does. To the inside, and through he goes. Puchalka is into second place, but has now got a bigger gap to close up on Ricardo Santos to get into the lead of this race. Superb driving from Puchalka, I must say, within this race here. To the bronze category, it's still Kevin Smith leading. Steven de Gravelia back here is about 10 seconds behind. So Kevin Smith is definitely comfortable in this category at the moment. But given what we saw in race 1, Kevin Smith, I still can't figure out why he pitted in the first race. I'm not entirely sure where it was. It might have been breach of instant point limits or something like that. It might have been a meatball flag. Who knows? But he's got to keep it composed in this race. There's bigger points on offer in this race, and he's got it in hand at the moment. Just needs to keep going. Proto Silvers, then. Ramada leads. We haven't given this category much attention in this race at the moment. And I think it's been mixed up quite a little bit, because they were right in the middle of the kerfuffle at the start of the race. But Ramada leads. And it was his compatriot Alpalau who won race 1. And he's quite a way back, actually. 10 places gained from the start, and is actually carving his way through the field quite well. But his next target is Mark Baker, who's a few corners up the road, and there's quite a significant gaps between all the drivers here. 10 seconds is Baker from... Baker from Ramada. So this will all get more mixed up, I suppose, when we get to the pit stops. And speaking of pit stops, Will Guthrie, the race 1 winner, has decided to pit. Fuel's in the car, and away he goes. Or tyres were on the car, and fuel's in the car, and off he goes. So there wasn't much time between the tyres finishing and the fuel finishing off for when he moved out of his pit stall. And that, just to say, is a good thing. You want as little time in the box as possible. But Guthrie rejoins with quite a few GT3 cars around, actually. So we'll see if this strategy can be a good thing. Because actually, it's down to when the likes of McCluskey and DeLayden decide to pit as well. As DeLayden here has dropped back even more from McCluskey. So McCluskey is having a real good race. And this is Ben McCluskey, as in Benji Sim Photos. Benji, quite a masterful photographer and graphic designer is Benji. And quite a good driver as well. There's the GT3 cars up ahead, holding him up. This really isn't going to help him in his battle with DeLayden, 5 seconds back. The time is just coming down quick. It's a tenth per second, you could see there, whilst McCluskey was stuck behind the GT3 cars. And that's how detrimental it can be, being stuck behind GT3 cars on twisty corners such as what they are here at Mugello. So that really wouldn't have helped, but he's still 4 seconds clear, and now DeLayden is catching up on these GT3 cars and might suffer very similar, particularly as this is a twisty part of the track coming up very shortly here. Oh, too wide there as we see the battle between Rui Reese and Miles Owens, I believe that is. Battling for honours in the gold category, 5th and 6th. But actually, passing very fairly then was DeLayden, in my opinion, passing very fairly then. And he's now nearly 6 seconds behind McCluskey. So each time these two get in a cluster of GT3 cars, it closes them up and opens them up, closes them up, opens them up. And it's real difficult, and one time it will not benefit and it will disadvantage one of these drivers. And it will either make the gap really big permanently or smaller permanently. Let's get to the silver category. Into the top 3 is Alpalau. 21 seconds behind Baker, behind Ramada. Let's take a look at the intervals between each of these drivers. 11 seconds behind, and there are cars peeling off into the pits. I believe that was Jorge Cabrita, and he's actually got a lot of damage on the car, has Cabrita. You can just see through the beams there. The front end of that car is missing, so that'd be a fast repair to be taken by Jorge, if he's got any in the bank. Yep, straight on is a new bumper. And has actually only come in for the fast repair. So there we go. Hasn't taken fuel. Might have already come in for the stop. Let's see if we can get a number of pit stops available, taken by the drivers here. So the drivers in the top parts of the field haven't quite taken their pit stops just yet. Some drivers have, such as the likes of Guthrie, and Alpalau has. So there we go. That would be the reason why Alpalau was down so much time then. We'll see the interval times refresh when they go across the splits. Oh, I thought we saw a swap of position in the tops there, but it was our timing screen having a bit of a wobbly. But yeah, no notable stops from these top categories just yet, other than Alpalau in this silver category. And that might actually be the key thing from here, is Alpalau's come in the pits earlier, and he's making up his time now through all the traffic. Will he get the jump? He's 22 seconds down. That must be more than what a pit stop is. Sorry, less than what a pit stop is. So it'd be interesting if Alpanel can get the double here. Let's take another look at the GT3 category, as I believe Pachauka is in the pits here. He is, and I believe he was leading in the category. Into the pits goes Pachauka, and this would be a key point in the race for him. Smart carries on and has... Oh, actually, Smart has pitted as well. He was second in category in the previous race. So all the GT3 cars, a lot of the GT3 cars have decided now's the time to pit. And it might have been that they've taken their car to the max. Drivers exiting the pits now in the GT3s. And actually, Pachauka has got out in front of Ricardo Santos there. So that'll be Pachauka into the lead of the race. Unless he already taken the lead before the pit stop, which he may have. But that'll be the lead for Pachauka. And I believe he's still leading despite coming into the pits. So, this is looking well and truly good for Pachauka. Unless Santos can really threaten Pachauka here. Corral going for the double in this opening round of the season. McCluskey, race leader from the GTPs, the prototypes, in the pits. The leading has carried on. Now that's notable. Now, undercuts and overcuts. I have no idea what would be the better of the two here at this track as McCluskey gets away. Now, it's all going to hang on whether McCluskey, he is in front of that GT3 Ferrari there. Now, it all depends on what kind of a crowd McCluskey gets on this outlap. We'll keep an eye on the leading as well. Oh, as McCluskey is up against Guthrie here, and both have pitted. So this is outright a battle for position, net position, and Guthrie is going to have the upper hand on the outside here. Through he goes. Guthrie might well inherit, or through strategy anyway, might well get himself the net lead of the race as McCluskey is still warming up his tyres as well. This is looking good for Guthrie. The leading is in the pits. Now this is the crucial point. What does this tell us? It doesn't tell us anything. Right. Let's keep an eye on Guthrie. Now, the leading was behind McCluskey when McCluskey came in the pits, and Guthrie's broken away quite a bit already. Guthrie will not want these GT3 cars holding him up in the final corner here. He'll know the leading's in the pits. He'll know the lead is within grasp. Although Dory is still out and hasn't taken his stop yet. The leading's on his way to the pit exit though. Here comes Guthrie. Where is he? There he is. And the leading's there. Look how close it is, but Guthrie makes it through and will take the lead going into turn one. Very close, and Guthrie must have had a panic there. With all the GT3 cars he had to manoeuvre on the straights there, he has taken the lead, and the leading has got the overcut on McCluskey, who's back here. But the leading has to warm up his tyres still, as Guthrie is breaking away. We have got an incident in the GT3 bronze class. We're just going to take a look at that. It's Kevin Smith, the leader of the bronze category. He's had a crash, apparently. Oh, and his contact with Wessels, I think it is. He's on the gravel there. I think he's still leading the category, though, if we go back to live pictures. Yeah, Kevin Smith's still leading the category. That just shows the lead he had. So where is... de Gravelia's really not that far behind. As a spin there from Paul Williams, I think it was. Excuse me. Sorry, it was Nathan Healy. Let's just get a replay of how that happened to Healy then. Is it not going to show us? Yes, it is. A flash of lights there to Stephen de Gravelio as he heads down the hill. Oh, he just loses it. Heading down the hill. It might have been too much load on the steering wheel that sent him round there. But Steven de Gravelia versus Kevin Smith in category here. Kevin Smith here. He might have a bit of damage on the car as well. He has stopped, as has de Gravelia. And they've also got Andy Rooney just behind here. So this is quite an interesting one in the bronze category. One to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at silver category. As Cheverton's still leading, and I believe most drivers have pitted now. There's a few drivers with 2 stops, including Alpalau. $37 minutes expired of this race. Still some time to go. Now, the drivers that pitted before 30 minutes, it'd be the interesting one from them. See, well, they'll presumably need another stop, because by the looks of it, it's around about 30 to 35 minutes that a tank can do in these cars. So Cheverton leads the silver category here. Jake Pitt is second in category, 6 seconds behind. Sorry, 17 seconds behind. Although, is he? I think he might well be more, actually. Let's see how many stops Cheverton has made. I'm a little bit unaligned with who's in what position within these categories here. Let's take a look at Jake Pitt here. Heading out the final corner, there we go. So it's the length of the front straight here between Jake Pitt and the leader of the silver category, Cheverton here. He's got a lot of GT3 cars around him that he's contending with. Not quite for position. Well, overall position, yes. Oh, is this the spin from Russ Fowler? Let's get a quick replay of that. I just want to see if there was contact. There was him and Ben Altria there. Yeah, there was a tiny little bit of contact, and Altria might not have quite known how close he was to Russ Fowler there. That would have been my prediction there. Again, it'd be one that will go to the stewards and they'll make a judgment on it. But that'll send Russ Fowler, it has sent Russ Fowler down a few positions in his category. But Ben Altria, I can't imagine he did that on purpose at all. I reckon it was just one of those things where he just didn't quite know how close he was to the car ahead. But Cheverton will be relieved that that was in his mirrors rather than right in front of him, as it less disrupts his race. And he is quite a way clear, positions-wise, overall, from Jake Pitt. So there's a lot of cars between Jake Pitt and Matthew Cheverton for Pitt to get a chance of winning this category, let's just say. So Pitt might well cash in the win, the second place here. Kevin Stringer is third place in category, the winner in race 1, and is quite a way back, 17 seconds back. So it's a very split up category here. And Nigel Stock, who got 4th in race 1 as well, looking to be getting 4th in race 2 here as well. I mean, he's going to be, by the looks of it, last of the finishers, but he won't care. There'll be points on offer there as we see a car going slowly back here with not a lot of bodywork on the car. That's Miles Owens. And I wonder if that was recent. I think Miles Owens is limping towards the pits here, and we haven't actually got a replay of the incident that may have caused that. And he's in the pits here. He's going to take a fast repair. Back towards the top, or back to the top. This is the Prototype Gold's leader and race 1 winner, William Guthrie. Got Max DeLeeden 3 seconds back. Did get the jump, the overcut on Benjamin McCluskey, who had led a lot of the race up until the pit stops. Hasn't quite worked out for him following the pit stops. And carving his way through all the traffic within all those pit stops is very tricky as well. So Alpalo had to have 2 pit stops. Now I wonder if one was for a fast repair or something like that. But he's 3rd place at the moment. And is 7.5 seconds down from 2nd place. And make that a further 8.8 seconds down from the leader in category. So it's all to be done by Alpalo here. And judging by the pace of him in race 1, can do it in this race, let's just say. But let's see if he can. Let's just see if he can. It's looking pretty good for a win for Pedro Ramada here. His teammate, shall we say, in E-Racecraft. But Mark Baker as well. Imposing a threat here. It's actually gone quite dark in the sim here. It's gone quite cloudy up above us. I don't think there's any rain forecasted. That's something I'm not fully making myself aware of. I like to be surprised. Yeah, it's quite sunny up in the distance there, so I don't think any rain is threatening. I think we just got a bit of cloud cover here. It's made it a little bit dark. So, let's take a look at the bronze category again in the GT3s. There's only one bronze category, actually. It is only GT3s. Smith still leads. 2.4 seconds clear of Steven de Gravelia, who's got his teammate behind him just to help him along. The 23 car there of Steven de Gravelia with the 30 car of Nigel stuck behind. Nigel will be sitting in 4th place thinking, you know what, I got a chance at 3rd place up ahead with Kevin Stringer just up there. But also got my teammate to help out within his category as well. As the prototypes make their way past the Crest Autosport drivers. Waving the flag for me, of course. But Kevin Smith, I did say earlier, he looked very potent for the win in the bronze category earlier on, but it didn't quite turn out as he had to pit. But this would be the redemption race. I'm just looking at the GT3 category and I'm noticing it's just our time screen having a hiccup. So with SDK, it just seems with big grids like this and a lot of categories and a lot of different types of cars, sometimes it does confuse the categories when drivers go laps or a lap down. But Pachalka is leading the GT3 Gold category. Santos hasn't lost that much time, actually. He's still within 4 seconds. So, certainly not out of the window yet. Just a mistake from Pachalka, or, you know, a complication with a prototype car might be all it takes for Santos to get back up towards Pachalka. Even then, he lost a little bit of time with Alpalo, I think that was, going around him. Oh, there's a car off there. That was Mike Riedner. That looked a bit extravagant to be getting out of the way of traffic there, so we'll just see if something did in fact happen to Mike Riedner. On his own here, it seems. The German driver of the number 33 car in the Ferrari. Jamie Dory passing him there. Another prototype making their way past. Oh, and did not see the prototype on the outside by the looks of it. And tries to take the exit of the corner and heads off the track as a result. I don't think there'd be too much damage on the car there. But I think Riedner might end up looking at the... It's just brightened up a little bit and it's just got a bit darker. I think... excuse me. Riedner might look that back after the race and think, actually, I didn't realise that the car was there. Perhaps. I don't know what goes on in these drivers' heads. I know what will go on in my head. But yeah. So a breakdown of the top 3s in each category as we head into the final quarter of this race. It's Guthrie leading the prototype gold category from Deleiden in 2nd position and McCluskey in 3rd position. Relatively similar, in fact the same as the positions in race 1. We've got Ramada leading in the prototype silvers at the moment, and he's leading in category from Mark Baker in 2nd position and Miguel Alpalau in 3rd, trying to catch up with the fellow category drivers. He's within 6 seconds of Baker up ahead. In the gold GT3 category, we've got Karel Pachalka in 1st position, just over 3 seconds clear of Ricardo Santos. Not comfortable yet is Pachalka, but Santos is really trying to push to hang on to the back of the 1st place driver, and he's also got to hang on from Kieran Smart, who is potentially closing in. 12 seconds back is the 3rd place driver, and has got a bit of threat from Edwin Simpson just behind in 4th position in category. Matthew Cheverton leads the GT3 silver category at the moment. Quite a long way clear as well from Jake Pitt, Welshman, Cymru Biff. 20 seconds back from Cheverton is Jake Pitt, and Kevin Stringer is 3rd place in category, a few more seconds back. 17 it said just then from Jake Pitt. Yep, by the looks of it, 17 seconds. So it's quite a split up category in the silvers, but Nigel Stock's really not that far behind Kevin Stringer, and he's now ahead of his teammate Stephen de Grevelia, so he'll be keen to close in. Well, actually, Nigel Stock here is in a very, very important place when it comes to his team. I know it's my team, ladies and gentlemen. I know it is. It's my Crest Autosport team. But Nigel Stock, if he gets it... Oh, there's a bit of smoke there. Has a driver gone off? Yes, there has. That was Alan McCain again. So, bad to worse race for Alan McCain still. Just see if there was anything else involving that incident. It seems to be on his own at the moment. It just seems to be the car is not within control of Alan McCain at the moment. He did the Nürburgring 24 hours with me, by the way. We represent Next Gen on the weekend. Yeah, the car just goes out of control there. And actually, he did really well. So, I know what Alan McCain is really, really capable of. Drive the Beamer. Drive the Beamer, Alan. But yeah, we were talking about Nigel Stock there. If Nigel Stock can get himself in front of the car in overall position ahead, Kevin Smith, it might be that Nigel Stock just kind of thinks, I'll hold up Kevin Smith a little bit to try and help out Stephen back there. But at the same time, Nigel is trying to catch up with this guy only just up the road here, Kevin Stringer, to get himself, Nigel we're talking about here, into 3rd place in category. So this is quite an interesting one to monitor, I would say. So we see back here the prototypes really mixing it in with these GT3s. At this point in the race, they'll be very careful not to ruin drivers' races who are fighting for category wins, etc, etc. And try not to compromise their own races. Stock is closing in. Now, he's the outgoing bronze category champion. He's the only one I'm aware of having success from last season. I'm not quite aligned on that yet. I could be for next week. Stock's closing in on Kevin Smith, and it's Kevin Stringer up ahead that he'll want to target. And rounding off the top 3 in the bronze category, just to top off, Andy Rooney is not too far away from Stephen de Grevelia at all. In fact, this is the battle. That is Stephen right in front of him. So this might help, this will actually help out Kevin Smith in the Verano Motorsport car up ahead. So we've got Verano versus Crest Autosport versus Full Tilt here. 3 teams battling out in this bronze category. On board with Andy Rooney. A big run there. Stephen de Grevelia makes a mistake. And through. Oh, and there's contact between the two. Into the wall goes Andy Rooney. And a big hit with the wall. And that's really going to put the car out of alignment. Well, we've got to see that again. Oh, we jumped to a different one there. It just moved at the last second. Here we go. So, Stephen understeered on the exit there. Not there, the next 2 corners. Stephen take quite a shallow line into turn 1 here. Yeah, hits the inside curb. Here goes Andy Rooney. Oh, I'm not quite sure who moved into one another. But that's a big instant, and that's going to cause Andy Rooney damage. And he's in the pits. He's going to have to take a fast repair. Of course he's going to have to. And that's really going to ruin his potential position in the bronze category in this race. Now, it'd definitely be one for the stewards after. But Stephen de Gravelia got away with that, and he's still in second place. His confidence might be a bit knocked, though, as he might be thinking right now, was that my fault or not? And that actually makes Kevin Smith break away. And actually, Nigel Stock getting past Kevin Smith now. Nigel Stock can focus on catching up with third place Kevin Stringer in category. He's only just up the road here, as we mentioned. But Smith now is relatively in the clear, as he's now more than 6 seconds clear of Stephen de Gravelia. Wow, big drama, and we just caught it all there. Big drama in the bronze category. Less than 10 minutes to go in this race. 8 minutes to go. It's just ticked over to that. And we've had 33 laps here at the Mugello circuit. And it's been quite a good round. It's got to be said. Really good battling between drivers. A lot of drama in the form of contact and incidents and that sort of thing from other drivers as well. It's been quite enjoyable to watch. Remember, we're back here 1 week from today for round 2 of the championship, which will be another sprint race and feature race format. And it'll be at the Motorland Aragon circuit, just north of the Tarragona region of Spain. Not too far from Barcelona is Aragon. It's not the most popular track in the world. It's certainly not the most popular Spanish track. But Aragon circuit is really good for these prototypes and GT3s. It's a really fun track to drive. And it'd be interesting to know what layout we do of the Aragon circuit, because there's quite a lot of layouts, so it'd be interesting to know if we do the tight hairpin at the very end of the lap, or if we're just going to do the long sweeping MotoGP corner. Are we going to miss out the infield section and just do one big long straight on the back straights at Aragon? So it's going to be interesting to find out what we do layout wise for Aragon next week, but we'll be live then for that. There really has been 2 drivers who have been standouts today. I did do this in the old MX5 days, and I think I'll do it again tonight. I think I'll do commentator's driver of the day. I think we'll do that. I haven't quite decided whether it's going to be Guthrie or Pachalka, but I think as it stands at the moment, I'm going to make Karol Pachalka my commentator's driver of the day for tonight. I just think this has been an absolutely flawless race from nights, shall we say, and races from him, getting his way through the pack and opening up the gap. I'd say it's a very close one between himself and Guthrie for that driver of the day. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, so don't get too offended, William, please. For me, this has been a flawless performance from both drivers, and particularly Pachalka. And interesting battles turning out in the championships for other categories, especially Ramada and Alpalau in the silver category will be breakout championship leaders in the silver category in the prototypes, that's for certain. And we've got an interesting formation of championship potentially in the silver category. We've got Matthew Cheverton, who may well take this win here, but also Kevin Stringer. And Nigel Stock actually might be a breakthrough from this round. 2 4th place finishes, although the winners of this race might well break away in terms of a points gap. Better rewards for winners in terms of points gaps than there are to other positions. This is getting close between Nigel Stock and Kevin Stringer, just up ahead here. It's down to less than 2 seconds. And this is a podium opportunity for Nigel Stock, and potentially outscoring a championship rival. So this is one of the more notable battles on the track, I would say, at this point. Because this could make an upset in terms of top 3 positioning in each category. 1 second now between the two drivers. Nigel Stock's really in a groove here, this got to be said. And he's closing in on Kevin Stringer here with not many laps remaining. So he's going to close in, but then he's got to overtake Stringer. Might be like Lando Norris at Imola, just another lap or another few laps are needed. That's Stringer up ahead. Oh no, he's let go of it, no! Oh dear. Pushing a little bit too hard, I could just tell. He went a little bit light on the brakes there, and the car just came round on him. So there we go, that puts it out of the picture. Maybe you got a bit of stage fright there, being on the broadcast, who knows. But, oh, that's quite a shame from Nigel Stock there. Let's just get a bird's eye view of the car heading out of control there, just to embarrass him a little more. No, I'm joking. I'm really joking. So he heads through here and heading into the corner. You can just see he was a little bit light and tentative on the brakes. And when you do that, the car just lets go. It's actually quite a common thing to happen in these GT3 cars. They just let go whilst under braking like that. But Nigel will still cash in for a 4th place finish in category despite that there happening. Chalker trying to break 10 seconds clear from Ricardo Santos in second. It's been a good race from Santos as well. He had a really good start to the race and he maintained it, utilising the good grid position as well. And that'll be good championship points for himself as we progress on to the next rounds. I believe there'll be 2 more laps for Guthrie to undertake here. We'll see if we can. We're going to hang around for interviews once we've completed. Guthrie heading through the final set of corners on this lap. There'll be 1 more lap when he completes this one. Eight seconds clear of the lead, and so really not much threat imposing for him at this point. But at this point he'd just be thinking, please no one spin right in front of me, please no one turn in on me. Giving all of these GT3 cars a wide berth, and they'll do the same with him. They'll know he's the leader. The white flag waves on the Marshall Post gantry there. Quite a stellar performance from Guthrie tonight. Likewise with Pachalka, the winner of the GT3s here. It's been a good race as well, individual feature race especially from Cheverton here, really dominating this category in this race. Pedro Ramada, pretty much from the start, has led start to finish in this category and is 17 seconds clear of Mark Baker back in 2nd place, so real good performance from him as well. And Kevin Smith continues to lead the bronze category. Guthrie here just taking in the sights one last time here at Mugello. It's been a double win for Guthrie, and you'll take maximum points out of this round, as will Pachalka, as we head out of this round and into Aragon next week. The checker flag is waving, awaiting our victors. William Guthrie takes another win, the feature race win here at Mugello in the prototype gold category. A fantastic race display from him all through tonight. I have to figure out who's next through. I think it will be Pachalka coming through next. Oh, no it won't. He's got another lap to go. Matthew Cheverton will come through to take second place. First place in the second category, the GT3 silver category. Through he comes. A brilliant, brilliant race from him. Ramada is next to come through of the winners. A start to finish display from him. He'll cross the line to take the prototype silver category win. Kevin Smith is to come through next, as is Karel Pachalka. But it will be Kevin Smith to cross the line first. And he's right in front of Nigel Stock here. No one in his category posing a threat at this point in the race. Redemption from the first race, where he missed out on the win. Smith will be really pleased with that. A win for him in the Verano Motorsport livery there. Crosses the line side by side with Nigel Stock. And our driver of the day is the winner in the GT3 Gold category. Karel Pachalka takes the win in that GT3 Gold category. And another maximum points event for the driver here at Mugello. Well, that was a stellar 1 hour race we witnessed there. Lots of drama in there as well. So we'll go through the results before we head into the final moments of this broadcast. And we'll go through the prototype golds. First of all, excuse me. So the winner was William Guthrie from Max de Leiden in second position, 8.4 seconds down. The two Snakes Unite Racing, Benjamin McCluskey and Gaz Williams in fourth position, with Jamie Dory in fifth place, last of the lead lap runners. In the silver category, we have Pedro Ramada taking a win in this opening round of the season, with Mark Baker in second place, and the race one winner, the sprint race winner, Mugello Alpalau taking third place and last of the lead lap runners. In the GT3 Gold category, Karel Pachalka takes the double win here, lapping all but one in this field. Second place is Ricardo Santos. He did start the race very well, but couldn't quite hang on to Pachalka. Kieran Smith taking third position, one lap down in category. And third place in race 1, fourth place in race 2 is Jesse Payne Wilkins. The silver category in the GT3s, Matthew Cheverton takes the lead, a dominant win by 27 seconds over Jake Pitt, with Kevin Stringer in third position and Nigel Stock, who was closing down Kevin Stringer at the end but made a mistake and had to settle for fourth position. And the GT3 bronze category, Kevin Smith gets the win in the end in the bronze category, with Stephen de Gravelia in second place, just 8.6 seconds down, last of the lead lap finishers in category. But Davide Favo finishes third place, and it could have been Andy Rooney, but an incident between him and Stephen de Gravelia led him to retiring from the race and finishing sixth in the end. So we'll see if we can get some interviews with drivers, but we'll just go through the category, the calendar, again for the remainder of the season. We're back a week today at the Motorland Aragon circuit, and 2 weeks today it'll be our first 2-hour endurance event of the season on the 6th of June. That'll be at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It'd be good to know if we're using the pit lane on the Lewis Hamilton straight or on the on Woodcote. Not quite sure. I assume it would be the regular Grand Prix circuit we'll use for that one, but that's going to be a good round to look out for. Mugello's a beautiful circuit and has been brilliant host to this season opener here today. And we'll see if we can get some interviews. Before we break away. We'll see if anyone jumps in the interview room. We'll jump back to the green flag. It might take a while to boot up here. But if we just take a little bit of a sky view of the opener of this race here. I'll slow down to quarter speed to see if we can see certain incidents happening. So that's Sean Shoot at the front, remember. So there we go. And that was the contact that sent the car round. And McCluskey did make contact with another car. Guthrie spun, as we can see here. So that's what caused Guthrie to be so far back. So considering he won this race still, having that happen to him as well is quite impressive. So the GT3 category. Got Santos up the front here. And actually the GT3 category have done really, really well to get through here. Can't quite see. There we go. Oh, this gets close here. That was Alan McCain. We saw the green prototype again going sideways and collecting Alan McCain. Really wasn't Alan McCain's day today, unfortunately. Oh, and a crashed car going into the back there. So one of our guys got away with that, and Alan McCain will feel really hard done by in tonight's racing. He just seemed to be bashed around all over the place, it just seems, tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, that was the opening lap there. We do have someone waiting for an interview, and it's Costa. There we go. We'll bring Costa in for an interview now. Well, we're not able to drag him in. Okay, that's very unfortunate. So it might be that we have to do interviews next time because we're not actually able to drag drivers into the comms booth. But we'll hang around for just a little bit longer, just in case. Yeah, let's take a look at the comments then we've got on YouTube here. Verano Motorsport, good double podiums in the opener. Yep, absolutely, from Kevin Smith there. Didn't quite work out in race one for him. I do keep mentioning that. I do apologise. But, yep, that was a great second race from Kevin Smith there for you guys. I'm not going to say the next name because it's a bit of an odd one. Comfort, I'll call you. Sorry, I didn't have enough fuel to finish the in-lap. Oh, yes, you're advised to bring it back to the pits. But, I think if you run out of fuel, then, well, you can't make it back, can you? It's kind of what it can happen in real life as well, but they do say you need to put enough fuel in to be able to make it back to the pits, don't they? But I suppose it's different in sim racing, isn't it? All about the gyro. Some of your YouTube names are ridiculous, guys. I enjoyed my 2x run. Oh, that last lap was tough. Dwayne Hoffman, good to see you, mate. P12, yep. You know what? You've got yourself some good points there. believe you finished P13, actually. But you finished 6th in the silver category. So, there we go. Points, points, points. That's what it's all about. Yep, he's all about the points. Andy Rooney, doesn't count as an 8th. I do have a driver line up for an interview, so if anyone else does want to jump in for an interview, we'll hang around for a few more minutes before we wrap up. There we go. So, Costa has been dragged into the commentary booth here. Welcome to the commentary booth, Costa. Now, I can see on the race 2 here, 8th place in bronze category, and not quite the outcome you probably would have hoped. But for tonight, just in a nutshell, how did the night kind of go for you, and how do you think it sets you up for the rest of the season?
It was pretty appalling from my end. I made a few mistakes, couldn't get to grips with the car. The Mercedes is quite a difficult car to get into anyway.
Yeah.
I just couldn't handle it, if that makes sense. So me and my brother, who's sharing with me from the endurance rounds, are hoping to switch to GTP for the next few rounds.
Oh, okay, okay. Generally, do you prefer the prototype cars then?
Yeah, because they're quicker.
Well, that's a good enough excuse for me, yeah. Yeah, so the Mercedes, yeah, it can be a tricky car to drive. So with the prototypes next week, which one's taking your preference? And yeah,
I've already been testing Acura out, because as soon as I DNF'd from race 2, I literally just jumped out of a session and jumped into a test session to see what I could do. And I'm actually not here next week for Aragon because I'm on holiday, but I'm here for Silverstone, so...
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, should be showing stronger pace, but I reckon we'll be up there.
Excellent. How did the sprint race go for you today? I don't have the results to hand, but how did the sprint race today go for you?
It was pretty challenging. We had a incident during the first few corners, which kind of put me off. Obviously, with the whole rolling start, you've got to be ready for stuff, and I wasn't. So yeah, kind of got caught up at the first chicane, and I had to basically turn 90 right, 90 left, 90 right to just get around the corner, because there was a car in the middle of the track. So I managed to avoid that. Then going into, I can't remember, I think it's turn 9.
Okay, yeah.
Right around there, I got swiped by someone.
Oh dear.
And that just got wheel damage, then it just put me off for the rest of the race.
Oof. So it hasn't been the best of nights for you, unfortunately, but a move to GTP category and back at Silverstone next week. Is that a track you particularly like, and you're thinking, yep, I'm really going to go for it from that track, that round onwards?
Yeah, Silverstone, obviously, I've been there a few times in real life, and I just love the layout of it. It's people say it's pretty boring sometimes, but it's actually not.
Yeah, I agree.
Maggers and Beckett's, and you've got really fast Stowe section, the Grand Prix layout and everything. Yeah, so I really like it, and it's going to be even more challenging in GT3. A lot more downforce at hand, so hopefully I can get to grips really good with it.
Excellent. All right, and two more questions for me. First of all, how do you say your surname? Because I think I got it right earlier, but I'm not entirely sure. Excuse me, I want to hear it from you so I can get it right next time.
Let's get it right. It's Hadji Constantinu. That's how you meant to say it.
I got it terribly wrong. Right, okay. Thank you for that. I'll rehearse it for next week then. And the second question, anybody you want to give a shout out to? Sponsors, family, friends, fans? Floor is yours.
Obviously 287 Motorsport for obviously it's my own team, but we're trying to expand it as much as possible. RC Photo, who's just took the whole car and done good with it. Well, his colour scheme, obviously red, black and white. He just took over the whole car from sponsorship, and we're looking to try and get a few more people on board to sponsor us for the rest of the day in this championship, a few more championships across set across competizione, and iRacing, possibly real life too.
Fantastic.
With Club 100, because that's what's in the works at the minute.
Yeah.
Trying to get to around towards the end of the year, but hope if that doesn't go into fruition, we'll probably do 2025 onwards.
There we go. If you put some good results into Silverstone, that's a good sales pitch for you for potential sponsors. Then. There we go. Brilliant. Oh, thank you very much, Costa, for joining us in the comms booth today. Where are you going on holiday?
Nowhere nice. It's just about 4
Oh,
minutes
right.
of
Okay,
work.
it's just a breakaway. Okay, fair enough. Well, enjoy yourself on your breakaway, and we'll see you next time out at Silverstone.
Yeah, see you later.
Thanks very much. There we go. I can't quite remember the surname right now, but I'm going to go and rehearse it before next week anyway. Lovely to speak to Costa there. We do not have any more we could have an interview, actually. We could have... how long have we been running the stream for? We've been running nearly 3 hours, so we got a bit of time. We might be getting Dwayne Hoffman into the chat to have a chat to. So Dwayne Hoffman, how did he get on today? 6th place in race 2 and 13th overall, so not too bad. You can see him making a position up there in the replay. Let's see if we can get a chat with Dwayne Hoffman. But it's always nice to chat to drivers in these interview post-race booths, because you get an instant reaction from them, and because they're on broadcast as well, they tend to cool down their their temperaments, I suppose, if they've had the race probably a little bit more furious than perhaps Costa would have. Didn't quite go to plan for him today, but others might be a little bit more red mist. But some drivers will not bother with an interview when they're in such a state. But we'll see if we can get Dwayne Hoffman in for an interview. It'd be nice to chat to the winners post-race. That would be my opinion. It'd be nice to chat to all 5 winners. We'll see if we can organise that for next time. Here we go. We're going to chat to Dwayne Hoffman now. So there we go. We've got Dwayne Hoffman in the booth with us. We're watching him go head round in the race replay. So Dwayne, 6th position in category in the feature race there at Mugello. So not a bad night at all for you. But just sum up the races tonight from your perspective.
Well, good afternoon, everyone from Middle Tennessee, here in Blue Raider country. Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, we're really happy with our first round here. For me specifically, I raced to the plan. And the plan was to be incredibly cautious. We had done the 12 hours of Mugello here for Crevantech, and we learned how difficult it is to pass around here. So we definitely, from my side, we took a safety-first approach. I'm very happy with the double points for both sprint and for the feature.
You've got, so Full Tilt have got quite a contingent of drivers in the championship here. You've got 3 teams in the form of Full Tilt Purple, Full Tilt Green, and Full Tilt Pink. You yourself, you're in the purple, so quite a strong contingent of drivers here, and one of which, William Guthrie, won tonight, and of course Karen Pachalka. So you've got a very strong contingent of drivers here, so yeah, quite rightfully so. So I guess I normally ask this question last, but any sort of sponsors and anybody else you want to give a shout out to for your team's performance tonight?
Well, let me make a brief comment before we do. Will is this wonderfully unchecked, unharnessed driver that when he gets into full flow, he is simply magnificent.
Yeah, clearly.
And this was not a clean run, even by our standards. There are some things internally that we're going to work on, but With Will, the raw talent is there. We have felt for a while Will is underrated, and I think this race emphasizes that. For Carol, Carol is the Czech dynamo who is the quiet vendor of death.
Silent assassin, maybe. Yeah.
He is. That Carol is just one of those that he gets in the car and he will complain even though he is a second faster than any of us. It is how he is. He is so driven to give him the absolute best. And we're very lucky. IMB Racewear is a great supporter of us. Rock Solid Rigs. We also have a liaison with iOverlay as well. And we're very thankful. And, our team principal, Paul Webster, he's in Turkey right now enjoying his anniversary with Natalie. So we dedicate this to him and his lovely bride. And we're looking forward to Aragon.
Oh, fantastic. So how about Aragon for not only yourself, for the team? How is that track for you and the team?
So, as the chief engineer of the team, we've done a lot of open setup racing around the two main layouts. You have the layout that has kind of the intermediate final corner where it's a little bit easier to drive, and then you have the very tight hairpin one at the very end. And the secret is going to be for that strategic thinking in pit cycles, because clear track is king at Aragon in the multi-class. And then the other thing is, you've got to keep off each other. We expected this. It's the first round of a new league. You have, mostly new faces. There's a couple of names that we've had the pleasure of racing against in, World GT Championship and other leagues. And so I think the standard's going to be higher for next round. And Aragon races very, very well. So we're excited.
Excuse me. With Aragon, it I would say it's a wider track and there's more flat out opportunities, which will encourage, I guess, easier overtaking between the prototypes and the GT3s, but also generally probably a little less contact between cars as well, because there's a lot more time between all the corners, isn't there? So I think Aragon might well be quite a good track when it comes to overtaking and side-by-side action. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing about Aragon is, for me specifically, and we were actually discussing this very part during the feature, the section from the start-finish line to the Marc Marquez corner, which is the long left-hander to accelerate out of the mini corkscrew is what I call it.
Yeah.
That is a section of track where you can gain and lose considerable amount of time. And so its width is a double-edged sword. Yes, it's easy to pass, but it's also easier to lose your braking marker.
Yes, yeah.
Because of where the braking markers are. So I think it's going to be a stern test, but I think it's also going to be a fair one.
Yeah, absolutely. And just what you mentioned there about braking points, acceleration points, turning points, etc. Because all the obstacles and kind of objects you use for braking markers and that sort of thing, they're so far away from the circuit at Aragon, aren't they? So it is actually a very tricky track to learn. So it's going to be interesting next week. Just before we wrap up here, Dwayne, I know I've kind of asked it again, but anybody else you want to give a shout out to before we wrap up here?
As aforementioned, besides IMB Racewear and, Rock Solid Rigs, we would be negligent if we didn't think the team itself. We are incredibly fortunate to be a truly international team. We had drivers in the field tonight from the UK, the Czech Republic, Ireland, Portugal, and the United States. And so, we've had a good splash in the TCR League, and we thought this was just the logical follow-on for us to get anchored into. So now we're excited to see how the season develops. And, for me specifically, this was a very Alain Prost, take the points I can get type of race, and I'm really happy with my drive. 2 incidents in the future, job done.
As in instant points, or...
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
2x, that's it.
That's
in the features.
impressive.
Job done.
Brilliant. Brilliant. If only those bonus points for that, eh?
True. You never know, right?
Ah, fantastic. Well, thanks very much for coming in for a chat, Dwayne. Best of luck next week at Aragon and for your team. Yeah, thanks very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you, Alex. Take care, everyone.
There we go. What a lovely chap Dwayne is. And a very, very serious team, I'm getting the sense, Full Tilt. I noticed during the prep for this race that Full Tilt had quite a lot of drivers in here, likewise with eRacecraft and I guess the CSA, the Chris Shorter Academy. So yeah, some teams with big contingents of drivers in this series. So, and Full Tilt certainly have taken a step towards a good start in this championship here. So there we go. We're going to wrap up the stream here. This is the calendar for the season. Next week we're at Aragon, as we mentioned. This has been the Next Gen Racing Multi-Class League featuring prototypes and GT3s. My name's been Alex Everett. I've been your commentator tonight. We'll join you next week for round 2 of the championship. It's been a great start to the season for the Full Tilt Racing team with double wins from William Guthrie and Karol Pachalka. Let's see if they can carry that momentum into next week. Thank you for watching, everyone. Good night.